Imagine this: you plant a seed in the soil today. Do you start shouting at it, grow, grow faster? Of course not. You water it, give it sunlight, and quietly wait. In life, many of us forget this simple truth. We make noise, complain, argue, and rush things. But true growth often happens in silence. Silence isn't weakness, it's a sign of strength and clarity. When you stay silent, you listen better, understand deeper, and act wiser. Today, let's explore how embracing silence can bring you peace, power, and ultimately, everything you truly desire in life. In a world filled with constant noise, opinions, and distractions, our minds often become cluttered with unnecessary thoughts. This mental chaos makes it difficult to see things as they truly are. Silence acts like a cleansing force, helping us clear away the confusion and focus on what really matters. When we choose to be silent, we create space between ourselves and our thoughts. This space allows us to observe situations more objectively, without being carried away by emotions or impulsive reactions. For example, during an argument, instead of instantly replying in anger, staying silent for a moment helps us process our feelings and respond with wisdom. Clarity is not about having all the answers immediately, but about seeing the truth with a calm mind. Silence gives us that calmness. Just as muddy water settles and becomes clear when left undisturbed, our minds also become clear when we sit in stillness. In that clarity, solutions reveal themselves naturally. We begin to understand people better, make wiser decisions, and recognize opportunities we might have missed in the noise. Ultimately, silence is not emptiness. It is a powerful tool that sharpens our perception and helps us move forward in life with purpose and direction. Patience is one of the most powerful virtues we can develop, but in today's fast-paced world, it often feels like a rare quality. We are surrounded by instant gratification, fast food, instant messaging, quick deliveries, and this constant rush has made us less tolerant of waiting. Silence, however, is a beautiful teacher of patience. When we choose to remain silent, especially in challenging situations, we are training ourselves to pause instead of reacting impulsively. This pause is where patience begins to grow. Consider a situation where someone criticizes you unfairly. The natural instinct is to defend yourself immediately or retaliate. But by staying silent, you give yourself the chance to control your emotions and respond thoughtfully later. This silence is not weakness, it is an act of strength and self-mastery. It teaches you to endure discomfort without breaking down or lashing out. Over time, this builds an inner reservoir of patience that helps you handle life's difficulties with grace. Silence also teaches us to wait for the right time. Just like a farmer cannot force a seed to sprout overnight, we cannot rush certain outcomes in life. By staying silent, we learn to trust the process and allow things to unfold naturally. This does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what is needed and then waiting calmly for results. When you practice silence regularly, whether through meditation, reflection, or simply listening more and speaking less, you begin to notice that your tolerance for delays, setbacks, and challenges increases. You no longer feel restless when things take time because silence has trained you to be steady. Ultimately, patience born from silence gives you strength and stability, helping you navigate life's ups and downs with wisdom and calmness. Inner strength is not about showing the world how powerful you are. It is about having the courage and stability to face challenges without being shaken from within. In life, we often equate strength with loudness, with raising our voice, making bold statements, or proving ourselves to others. But real strength does not always roar. Sometimes it is silent, calm, and unshakable. Silence is one of the most profound ways to build that kind of inner strength. When you choose to remain silent in difficult situations, you are actually training your mind to be in control rather than letting external circumstances control you. Most people react instantly when they are provoked or hurt. They shout back, argue, or try to justify themselves because silence feels uncomfortable. But when you resist the urge to react, you develop emotional discipline. This discipline is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, you reach a point where external chaos does not disturb your inner peace. This is true strength, being steady while the world around you is turbulent. Imagine a scenario where someone insults you or spreads false information about you. The natural instinct is to respond immediately and defend your reputation. However, if you stay silent, you are choosing strength over weakness. Why? Because you are no longer giving the other person control over your emotions. You are showing that their words cannot shake your self-worth. This kind of silence is not about ignoring injustice, but about refusing to let negativity dictate your actions. When you respond later, you do so with clarity and wisdom rather than anger or fear. Silence also helps you connect with yourself. Most people live their lives surrounded by noise, constant chatter, notifications, arguments, and entertainment. In this noise, they forget to listen to their own inner voice. Taking moments of silence allows you to reflect on who you are, what you value, and where you are heading in life. This self-awareness builds confidence because you begin to understand your strengths and weaknesses deeply. When you truly know yourself, you stop seeking validation from others, and that is one of the greatest forms of inner strength. Another way silence builds strength is by fostering resilience. Life will always bring challenges, failures, rejections, losses, and disappointments. In those moments, people who rely only on external support often crumble because they expect others to fix their problems or offer constant encouragement. But when you have practiced silence, you develop the ability to sit with your pain, process it, and heal from within. You stop running away from discomfort and instead learn to face it with courage. This resilience makes you mentally and emotionally unbreakable. Silence is also a form of preparation. Think of a warrior before battle or an athlete before a big game. They often sit in silence, visualizing their success and focusing their energy. That quiet moment strengthens their mindset and prepares them for action. Similarly, in life, silence gives you the power to gather your thoughts, sharpen your focus, and take decisive steps toward your goals. Without that pause, you risk acting hastily and making mistakes that could have been avoided. Finally, silence protects your energy. Every time you speak unnecessarily, argue pointlessly, or explain yourself to those who are not willing to understand, you drain your mental and emotional energy. By staying silent, you conserve that energy and channel it into things that truly matter. This habit makes you stronger because your strength is no longer wasted on battles that are not worth fighting. In essence, silence is not emptiness or passivity. It is an active choice, a sign of maturity, and a pathway to profound inner power. Through silence, you gain control over your emotions, build resilience, and develop the courage to stand firm no matter what life throws your way. When you master the art of silence, you discover that the strongest voice you will ever have comes not from speaking louder, but from being deeply, unshakably still. Listening is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop, yet it is often the most neglected. In our fast-paced world, most people are more focused on responding than truly understanding. They listen only to reply, not to comprehend. This happens because there is too much noise, both external and internal. Externally, there are distractions like phones, notifications, and conversations happening all around us. Internally, there are our own thoughts, opinions, and judgments constantly running through our minds. Silence acts as a powerful tool to cut through this noise and bring genuine listening into our lives. When you practice silence, You give yourself the opportunity to listen fully, not just to others but also to yourself. Most of the time, we think we are listening, but in reality, we are preparing our next response while the other person is still speaking. This prevents true understanding. By remaining silent, you shift your focus entirely to the other person's words, tone, and emotions. You begin to notice subtle details, pauses, hesitations, and feelings that are often hidden behind words. This deep listening builds trust and connection because the other person feels truly heard and valued. Silence also helps remove the ego from conversations. Many times, arguments and conflicts happen because everyone is trying to prove they are right. In such situations, people talk over each other and no one really listens. Choosing silence in that moment is an act of humility and strength. It shows that you value understanding more than winning. When you are silent, you create space for the other person to express themselves fully, and often, this alone can diffuse tension and prevent unnecessary conflict. Another benefit of silence is that it sharpens your awareness. Listening is not just about hearing words, it's about observing everything happening around you. When you are silent, you become more sensitive to body language, facial expressions, and emotional energy. For example, someone might say they are fine, but their tone or body posture may reveal sadness or stress. This kind of deep awareness is only possible when your mind is quiet and attentive. It allows you to respond with empathy and compassion rather than assumptions or judgments. Silence also gives you the time to process information before reacting. In conversations, especially heated ones, people often interrupt or respond impulsively, which can lead to misunderstandings. By staying silent, you give yourself a moment to absorb what has been said and reflect on it. This pause helps you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. It transforms communication from a battle of words into a meaningful exchange. Listening through silence is not only important for understanding others, but also for understanding yourself. We often ignore our inner voice because we are too busy speaking or being surrounded by noise. When you spend time in silence, you begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You start to understand your desires, fears, and emotions better. This self-listening helps you make wiser decisions and align your actions with your true values. Furthermore, silence in listening strengthens relationships. When people feel genuinely heard, they naturally feel respected and valued. In friendships, families, and workplaces, this creates a foundation of trust. A single moment of silent listening can heal misunderstandings, reduce anger, and strengthen bonds more than hours of arguing ever could. Ultimately, silence enhances listening because it teaches us to be present. It brings our attention fully to the moment, to the words being spoken, and to the emotions being felt. When you master the art of listening through silence, you move beyond surface level communication and connect with others on a deeper, more meaningful level. True listening is not about what you say afterward, but about the presence and understanding you offer in the moment of silence. Conflict is a natural part of life. Whenever people interact, there will be differences in opinions, beliefs, and perspectives. These differences are not necessarily a problem. In fact, they can lead to growth and understanding. The real issue arises when differences are handled with anger, ego, and impulsive reactions. Most conflicts escalate not because of the differences themselves, but because of the way people respond to them. This is where silence plays a powerful role. Choosing silence at the right time can prevent unnecessary arguments, misunderstandings, and emotional damage that might otherwise linger for years. In many situations, conflicts begin with words spoken in haste. Someone says something offensive, and the other person immediately retaliates without thinking. One sharp word leads to another, and before long, a small disagreement turns into a heated fight. If just one person had chosen to remain silent in that initial moment, the cycle of anger would have been broken. Silence creates a pause, a moment of stillness where emotions can settle before they spiral out of control. It gives both sides the chance to reflect rather than react. When you stay silent during a potential conflict, you are not admitting defeat or showing weakness. On the contrary, you are demonstrating incredible strength. It takes far more courage to hold back your words than to blurt out whatever comes to mind. Silence requires self control and emotional intelligence. Speaking may satisfy your ego temporarily, but silence protects your peace in the long run. Many people regret the things they say in anger, but no one ever regrets a moment of calm silence. Imagine a scenario where someone insults you or criticizes you unfairly. The immediate urge is to defend yourself or fight back. But if you respond aggressively, you fuel their anger even more. By staying silent, you take away their power. You show them that their words cannot control your emotions. This often disarms the other person because conflict feeds on reaction. When there is no reaction, the conflict has nothing to grow on and eventually fades away. Silence, in this way, acts like water on fire. It cools the heat of confrontation. Silence also prevents unnecessary conflict because it allows you to think before speaking. Many arguments are not about real issues but about misunderstood words. In the heat of the moment, people often misinterpret what others are saying. By remaining silent, you give yourself the time to process what you heard and determine whether it's worth responding to at all. Sometimes, you may realize that the other person didn't mean to offend you, or that the issue is too small to waste energy on. In such cases, silence becomes a form of wisdom, choosing peace over needless drama. Another reason silence is powerful is that it protects relationships. Words spoken in anger can leave scars that last a lifetime. Even if you apologize later, the hurt caused by those words cannot be completely erased. By staying silent during moments of high tension, you prevent yourself from saying things you might deeply regret. Relationships, whether with friends, family, or colleagues, are fragile. Silence acts as a safeguard, ensuring that temporary emotions don't cause permanent damage. Silence does not mean ignoring problems or avoiding important conversations. It simply means choosing the right time and way to address them. When emotions are running high, rational discussion is impossible. Silence gives everyone the space to cool down so that when you do speak, your words are thoughtful and constructive instead of hurtful. In this way, silence becomes a strategy, not an escape. It transforms potential conflicts into opportunities for understanding and resolution. Furthermore, silence has a calming effect not only on others but also on yourself. When you are silent, you give your mind and body a chance to settle. You breathe deeply, think clearly, and regain control of your feelings. This inner calm radiates outward and often influences the people around you. Many heated arguments have been resolved simply because one person remained calm and quiet while the other was angry. Silence breaks the chain reaction of negativity and brings balance back to the situation. There is also a spiritual side to silence in conflict. When you stay silent, you are listening not just to the other person, but also to your inner wisdom. In that quiet space, you can hear your conscience guiding you toward the right action. You begin to see the bigger picture, that most conflicts are temporary and unworthy of your peace. By choosing silence, you rise above the situation instead of being dragged down by it. In essence, silence is not just the absence of speech, it is the presence of self-control, wisdom, and understanding. It is the invisible shield that protects you from unnecessary battles. Every conflict presents a choice to escalate or to resolve. Words often escalate while silence de-escalates. When you master the art of silence, you learn to conserve your energy for what truly matters and let go of petty disputes. In doing so, you protect not only your relationships, but also your own inner peace. Ultimately, silence is not about winning or losing a fight, it is about choosing peace over chaos and harmony over hostility. Wisdom is not something that appears suddenly, it is cultivated through reflection, observation, and experience. In today's noisy world, where everyone is constantly speaking, sharing, and expressing opinions, true wisdom is becoming increasingly rare. People are so busy talking that they rarely pause to listen, to think, or to truly understand. This is why silence is such a powerful tool for cultivating wisdom. In silence, the mind finds the space it needs to process life's lessons, to connect ideas, and to see situations clearly without distortion. When you are always surrounded by noise, your thoughts become scattered. You are influenced by other people's voices, opinions, and judgments, which can cloud your ability to think independently. Silence removes these external distractions and allows you to hear your own inner voice. It creates a mental environment where deep thinking can take place. In this quiet space, you can reflect on your experiences, analyze your choices, and learn from your mistakes. Without reflection, experiences pass by without teaching you anything. Silence turns experience into wisdom by giving you the time to truly absorb its lessons. Think about how nature operates. The most profound growth often happens silently. A seed buried deep in the soil does not make a sound as it sprouts and pushes its way upward, yet it eventually grows into a strong tree. Similarly, our minds need moments of stillness to grow and develop strength. In silence, the roots of wisdom take hold. Just as noise can stunt growth by causing constant distraction, silence nurtures deep, meaningful development. Silence also allows you to become a better observer of the world around you. When you are talking, you are focused on expressing yourself. But when you are silent, you are free to truly see and listen. You begin to notice details that others overlook, patterns in people's behavior, subtle changes in the environment, and unspoken emotions in conversations. This heightened awareness gives you a broader perspective. Wisdom comes from understanding not only what is said, but also what remains unsaid. A silent mind can pick up on these hidden truths because it is not preoccupied with its own noise. In addition, silence teaches you the value of patience. Many people rush to make decisions or to share their opinions without taking the time to think deeply. This often leads to mistakes and regret. By staying silent, you give yourself the opportunity to pause and consider the consequences of your words and actions. This moment of reflection often leads to better choices. Over time, this habit of thoughtful silence becomes a foundation for wise decision making. Consider moments of conflict or emotional intensity. When anger or frustration takes over, the natural reaction is to speak without thinking. Words spoken in such moments are rarely wise, they usually add fuel to the fire. Silence, however, allows emotions to settle. It creates a space where clarity can emerge. When you speak after that pause, your words carry weight and meaning because they are guided by understanding rather than impulse. This is why wise individuals are often measured and thoughtful in their speech. They have mastered the art of silence before expression. Silence also connects you to something greater than yourself. In the stillness, you begin to sense the flow of life around you. Many spiritual traditions emphasize silence as a path to enlightenment because it allows you to move beyond the surface level of thoughts and connect with deeper truths. In this quiet state, wisdom naturally arises. You begin to see the interconnectedness of all things and to understand that many of life's problems are temporary and small in the larger scheme of existence. This perspective brings a sense of peace and acceptance that is at the heart of true wisdom. Another important aspect of silence is that it protects you from speaking unnecessarily. Sometimes, People share too much or reveal their plans to those who may not have their best interests at heart. Silence gives you control over your words, ensuring that you speak only when it adds value or brings understanding. This discretion is a sign of wisdom. The more you practice silence, the more you realize that not every thought needs to be expressed and not every situation requires your opinion. Over time, consistent moments of silence reshape your entire mindset. You begin to think more clearly, listen more deeply, and act more deliberately. You stop rushing through life and start approaching situations with calm awareness. This transformation does not happen overnight, but like a slow, growing tree, it becomes stronger and more evident with time. Ultimately, wisdom is the result of understanding life at a deeper level, and silence is the doorway to that understanding. By embracing silence, you create the mental space to reflect, to learn, and to connect with truths that cannot be heard amidst the constant noise of the world. When you master the power of silence, your words and actions naturally become more meaningful, and you begin to navigate life with clarity, insight, and grace. In a world that is endlessly loud, choosing silence is one of the most profound steps you can take toward becoming truly wise. Respect is something everyone desires, yet not everyone knows how to truly earn it. Many people believe that respect comes from speaking loudly, asserting dominance, or constantly proving their worth through words and actions. While confidence and communication have their place, there is a quiet and often overlooked way to earn respect: through silence. Silence has a unique power that can create an aura of strength and dignity around a person. It speaks volumes without saying a word and often leaves a deeper impression than endless speeches ever could. When you choose silence in moments where others expect noise, you immediately set yourself apart. Most people rush to express their thoughts, opinions, and emotions. They interrupt, argue, and try to be the loudest voice in the room. In such environments, a person who remains calm and quiet naturally draws attention. People begin to wonder, why is this person silent? What are they thinking? This quiet composure creates a sense of mystery and authority. Rather than trying to be heard, your silence makes others listen more closely when you finally choose to speak. One of the main reasons silence attracts respect is that it demonstrates self-control. Speaking without thinking is easy. It takes no discipline to react impulsively. But staying silent, especially in challenging situations, shows inner strength. When someone insults you or provokes you, your first instinct might be to respond immediately. However, by choosing silence, you show that you are not controlled by anger or ego. This restraint signals maturity and wisdom. People naturally respect those who can manage their emotions rather than being ruled by them. Silence also allows your actions to speak louder than your words. Anyone can talk about their plans, values, or abilities, but not everyone can live them out consistently. When you remain silent and let your work speak for itself, you earn respect in a more authentic way. For example, a leader who quietly supports their team and delivers results without constantly boasting earns deeper admiration than one who is always making grand speeches. Silence removes the need for self-promotion because your actions become your voice. In professional settings, silence can be a powerful tool for influence. During meetings or negotiations, the person who listens more than they speak often holds the greatest power. By staying silent, you gain valuable information about others' intentions, needs, and weaknesses. When you finally do speak, your words carry greater weight because they are carefully chosen and backed by understanding. Colleagues and clients are more likely to respect someone who speaks thoughtfully rather than endlessly. Silence is equally powerful in personal relationships. Arguments often escalate because both sides are trying to prove themselves right. In these moments, words can become weapons, causing lasting damage. By staying silent, you prevent further harm and create space for calm resolution. Over time, people come to respect the one who doesn't get swept up in heated exchanges but instead chooses peace over chaos. They see you as someone who values harmony and wisdom rather than winning arguments. Another reason silence attracts respect is that it protects your dignity. When you engage in gossip, petty disputes, or endless explanations, you lower yourself to a level where others can easily dismiss you. Silence, on the other hand, keeps you above unnecessary drama. It signals that you do not waste energy on things that don't truly matter. Even in situations where you are being criticized or misunderstood, silence can be the most powerful response. It shows that you have confidence in who you are and don't need to defend yourself against every false accusation. Silence also cultivates respect because it gives your words more power when you do decide to speak. If you are always talking, people eventually stop listening. Your words lose their impact because they become just more noise in an already noisy world. However, when you are generally quiet and speak only when necessary, people pay attention. They know that if you are saying something, it must be important. This selective speech creates a natural sense of authority and influence. Moreover, silence teaches humility. It reminds you that you don't always have to be the center of attention or have the last word. By choosing to listen rather than speak, you show respect to others, and in turn, they respect you back. This mutual exchange of respect strengthens relationships and builds trust. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, silence becomes rare and therefore valuable. It sets you apart as someone who is thoughtful, composed, and wise. Over time, this quiet strength earns the admiration of others far more effectively than constant talking ever could. Ultimately, silence attracts respect because it reflects inner stability. It shows that you are confident enough not to seek validation through words. You don't need to convince others of your worth. You simply embody it through your actions, your presence, and your calm demeanor. When you master the art of silence, people will not only notice you, they will respect you deeply, not for what you say, but for the power of what you choose not to say. Growth and success are two things that almost everyone strives for, but few people realize that one of the most powerful tools for achieving them is silence. In a world where people constantly speak, share, and express their opinions, silence may seem unproductive or even weak. However, silence is not a lack of action. It is a deliberate choice to focus inward, reflect deeply, and act wisely. When used correctly, silence becomes a catalyst for personal development and long-term success, both in professional and personal life. One of the ways silence contributes to growth is by creating space for self-reflection. Many people move through life without stopping to evaluate their decisions, habits, or direction. They are so busy talking, planning, and doing that they never pause to truly think. Silence forces you to slow down and examine yourself honestly. In those quiet moments, you can identify your strengths and weaknesses, understand what drives you, and recognize what is holding you back. This level of self-awareness is essential for growth because you cannot improve what you do not understand. Silence also helps you gain clarity in your goals. Often, people set goals based on external influences. What society expects, what friends are doing, or what seems impressive to others. When you step away from the noise and sit in silence, you begin to hear your own inner voice. You start to differentiate between what you truly want and what others want for you. This clarity ensures that the path you choose is aligned with your values and passions, which is the foundation for genuine and sustainable success. Another way silence fosters growth is by enhancing your ability to learn. Listening is a key component of learning, but true listening can only happen in silence. When you are quiet, you can fully absorb new information whether it comes from books, mentors, or life experiences. Instead of rushing to respond or prove your knowledge, you take the time to understand deeply. This habit of silent learning allows you to grow intellectually and emotionally, making you more prepared to face challenges and seize opportunities. In professional settings, silence can be a strategic advantage. In meetings or negotiations, the person who speaks the least often observes the most. Silence allows you to read the room, understand the dynamics, and make thoughtful contributions. It also signals confidence. When you are silent, it shows that you are not desperate to fill every moment with words. Instead, you are secure enough to listen carefully and speak only when your words will have impact. Over time, this earns you respect and positions you as a thoughtful, reliable leader, someone others trust and admire. Silence is also crucial for managing failure, which is an inevitable part of growth and success. When things go wrong, many people panic, complain, or blame others. These reactions create more chaos and prevent them from learning from their mistakes. Silence, however, allows you to process failure with a clear mind. Instead of reacting emotionally, you can reflect on what happened, understand why it happened, and plan your next steps wisely. This calm approach turns setbacks into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. In addition, silence fuels creativity and innovation. Some of the greatest ideas are born in quiet moments when the mind is free from distractions. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, it is difficult to think deeply or imagine new possibilities. Silence gives your mind the freedom to wander, explore, and connect ideas in ways that are not possible when you are always talking or listening to others. Many successful people, from inventors to artists to entrepreneurs, have credited silence and solitude as essential parts of their creative process. Silence also plays a key role in personal relationships, which are often vital to long-term success. When you practice silence, you become a better listener and a more empathetic friend, partner, or leader. Instead of rushing to speak, you give others the space to express themselves fully. This builds trust and strengthens bonds, creating a support system that can help you grow and thrive. Most importantly, silence teaches patience. Growth and success do not happen overnight. They require consistent effort, resilience, and the ability to wait for results. In silence, you learn to embrace this waiting period without frustration. Just like a seed grows quietly beneath the soil before it breaks through the surface, your progress often happens in unseen, silent ways. Trusting this process gives you the strength to keep going even when you don't see immediate results. Ultimately, silence is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the inner work that makes outer success possible. It helps you reflect, learn, plan, and act with wisdom. In a noisy world where everyone is trying to be heard, silence becomes a source of power. It allows you to rise above distractions, focus on what truly matters, and move steadily toward your goals. When you master the art of silence, you realize that growth does not require constant noise, and that real success often begins quietly, deep within yourself, long before the world notices.